Okay, it's Parshas Mishpatim, and we're going to learn a little bit about Esther and Malka. Parshas Mishpatim is a very daunting parsha, in that Mishpatim is a daunting parsha. It's all, I remember learning it in sixth grade, and I remember thinking, why are they teaching us all of these laws? It was so hard as a kid to get through Parshas Mishpatim. I think it took us a whole year, and I would have made a totally different choice if I was the teacher in my elementary school, but of course I wasn't. So we're going to learn a little bit about Esther and Malka. Oh, I see people are able to get on, Baruch Hashem. Now, for those of you who listened to the Monday shir, we did Likutei Moharan, lesson 56, Nun Vav, because it's about Purim. So we did a piece of it at the end, and now we're going to start a piece of it in the beginning. And it's an important thing, because we're all waiting for Mashiach, right? Melech HaMashiach, right? That's what we call him, Melech HaMashiach. So the Melech, what does the Melech mean? You know that there's a teaching, I think that Rav Reuven Sasson teaches this teaching, a very beautiful teaching about the levels of a soul. You know, we have 5 levels of our soul. You are all Rebbetzin, so you must know that. We have Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, and Yechida. 5 levels of the soul. Each of us, maybe you don't think about that. We all, sometimes we'll say like, you're such a neshamadik person, or we'll use very rarely do we use nefesh, and we use it like for pikuach nefesh, and ruach we know as a person has ruchnius. We use these words a lot. Chaya is a person has chiyus, a person has life, and yechida, a person who's unique. These are words that we use in Hebrew, but in the terms of the levels of consciousness of a human being, of a Jew, in terms of the levels of what we are, we're so not just a body. Everybody knows that. The body is connected to the nefesh, and that's not all that we are, because we can feel so much more, so many more levels of being, more than just the physical. I don't know how I just did that. Okay. So Chazal tell us that the nefesh is related to the body, and the ruach is related to the emotions, and the neshama is related to the mind, and the chaya is related to more spirituality. And the yechida, we're not going to get till Mashiach comes. The yechida is the part of our soul that is so deep and that is so profound and unique that we won't have access to it until Mashiach comes. Oh boy. I hope if my computer shuts off for some reason, then just hang in there. I'll get back on. I'll just plug it back in and I'll get back on. And he says that Rav Reuven Sasson says that, I think it's him, one of the students of Rav Kook, he talks about the idea that in the nation, in our Jewish nation, we have the nefesh. That means the king, who's in charge of the physical setting up and running of the country. Then we have the ruach, which is the Sanhedrin, which gives the laws of the country, and paskins, they rule laws. They work together with the king. Then we have the Kohen Gadol, that he is in the Beis HaMikdash. He's the Balabayit of the Beis HaMikdash. And then we have the Nevi'im, the prophets. Eliyahu Navi is going to come. And finally, when Mashiach comes, he'll be the Yechida. And in the Jewish nation, he talks about something very interesting. He says that the nefesh of the nation is the Jews that built up this country, that physically toiled to build the country, and the ones that are, in the current government, and that are putting down making the roads and making the, collecting taxes that we have, electricity and all of that. That's the nefesh of our people. And then comes the ruach of the people. When peoples start, they want to attach to the Torah. And that's happening now in the Baal Tshuva movement that we have since the last 50 years. Then comes the ruach, then comes the neshama of the people, where people want very much to daven and to feel inspired. That's like the Beis HaMikdash. And then finally we have the Nevi'im, the people who really want to attach to Hashem. And sometimes the people who are in the ruach and the neshama and the chaya of the Jewish people don't always have a yarmulke on their head, but they're spiritually seeking people, but they just, till they get to the right place, till they figure it out that it's all in His heart. But they want Hashem, they want spirituality, they want a connection to God. I remember the Lubavitch Rebbe, Zecher Tzadik V'Kadosh Livracha, he said when the hippies first came out in the 70s, he said this is a very good thing, because hippies means they're teenagers, but they want some spirit. They all went into many of them went to drugs because they didn't know that there's a whole spiritual life within the Torah. But he said it's a good thing. It's the people who are into that whole world are showing us that they're craving spiritual connection to Hashem. Okay, so that's the introduction. And now we're going to talk about the concept of Esther Hamalka. Esther was a queen. Now Mordechai wasn't called a king. Mordechai was called Mordechai HaYehudi. But we know that that Mordechai was from Binyamin, right? Right? He was from Kish, right? Mordechai ben Yair ben Shimi ben Kish. Kish was from Binyamin, was from Shaul HaMelech. Ish Yehudi, but he's called a Yehudi. Yehudi means a Jew, but he wasn't from the tribe of Yehuda. He was from the tribe of Binyamin, the same tribe. He was from the Rachel Imenu, Mashiach ben Yosef. He was a Mashiach ben Yosef category, and so was Esther Hamalka. Mordechai HaYehudi was called HaYehudi because Yehuda is also Malchus, right? We know that the Malchus will come from Yehuda. David HaMelech will come from Yehuda. And so we're going to talk about this concept. Malchus means royalty. It means dignity. It means power. It means the ability to run things, to be the Moshel, the Melech. The Moshel means the governor. The Melech means the king. And we know that we're waiting now for Mashiach, right? We want Mashiach to come. So we're waiting for the attribute of Malchus to actualize in this world. That's what we're waiting for. I'm sorry, I have to keep switching the screen. Okay. So here we're reading Nun Vav in Likutei Moharan, the beginning of Nun Vav. Ki yesh b'chol echad miYisrael b'chinat Malchus. Every single Jew in this world has an aspect of rulership and royalty and dignity and power. Every one of us has such a place in the world. Now, you might say, what do you mean? I'm not a governor, I'm not a general, I'm not anybody. But here's what he says. Everybody according to their own life and according to their situation, every woman, every man, and even every child, probably over the age of bar mitzvah, but probably even younger, has an aspect of malchus attached to them. They are manifestation of royalty. What does it mean? So he explains. Yesh shehu shorer b'veito. You have a person who is sorer b'veito. You have a person. Oh, what did I just do? You have a person who is who runs the house. The husband runs the house. The wife runs the house. The Yeshu Moshel B'yoter. There are then people who have more people underneath them. Let's say you own a company and you're the head of 300 employees, so then you're ruling over them. Or let's say the Chen Yeshu Moshel Al Kol Ha'olam, and then you could be a person who rules over the whole world. Now, except for Shlomo HaMelech, we haven't really had a demut, a personality in Torah that ruled over the whole world. You might say Moshe Rabbeinu ruled over the whole world. You might say Avraham Avinu ruled over the whole world. But we have, until Mashiach comes, we don't have a manifestation of that in a clear way. Now, we believe that the tzaddikim rule over the whole world, but it's not that they have, a government job. The Lubavitch Rebbe, Zecher Tzaddik V'Kadosh Livracha, that I mentioned before, I think he ruled over the whole world when he was alive. First of all, he had all the Chassidim that were all over the world, bringing Judaism to all over the world. And then you had presidents and prime ministers who would, call him. Of course, he didn't always publicize that, but yeah, we had plenty of them who came to him. But everybody has their own world that they rule over. You might be a mother of little kids, and they're your malchus. They are your kingdom. They are you're in charge of them. You rule over them. And you might be a bubby or a great grandmother with, you might have a whole family that you're the matriarch of a family. And everybody has that which they're, maybe you're not yet a matriarch of a family, but maybe you're a teacher and you have a bunch of little students running around. Everybody has their own malchus. 1 second. Let's see if I can do this. No. Let's see if I can do this. No. Let's see if I can do this. No. Oh, there you go. Did the screen change for you? No? Anybody? I just switched my screen. Did your screen change? Nobody wants an answer?
No, all good.
What do you see on your screen, Marcel?
You.
Just me? You just see me? You don't see everybody else? Okay.
Nobody else. I see you in the bookcase.
Okay, good. Okay, good.
Perfect.
Okay, good. Okay, so now, like it says, so everybody has their own world that they rule over. Like it says, this Sarai Alafim, we learned this in last week's Parsha, Yisro. There's an officer that's over 1,000, and Sarai Me'od, officer over 100. Sarai Chamishim, officer over 50. And Sarai Asarot, officer over, a judge over 10s. So everybody has their little world that they're in. That's all. And in the world that you're in, you're the Melech. You know that when Shlomo HaMelech, there's a whole story about Shlomo HaMelech when he was kicked out of Yerushalayim by the king of the head of the Shadim, and he ended up with, got thrown to the other end of the world, and he just had his stick. He had a walking stick with him, and he said, "All that's left for me is my own stick." That means he went from being king of the world to being a nothing. And sometimes we feel like that also. But all of us have an aspect of malchus. That's why, parenthetically, a Jew has to dress with respect and dignity, self-dignity, self-respect, because we really all are an aspect of malchus, are an aspect of kingship. I remember the first time I ever saw somebody in pants that had rips in them, and I felt so bad for them. I felt that they were poor. I thought they must be poor. And Nebuch, they only have one pair of pants, and it ripped, and that's all they have to wear, and that's what they're wearing. Until I saw one of the members of the house of the King of England, Nebuch, they're all, they got a big makkah over there. Whoa! I have a whole interpretation of that. What happened to them? But whatever it is, I saw one of them wearing these ripped pants. So I asked one of my students, and then she said, "Oh, it's a big style, ripped pants. You buy jeans that are ripped, that are pre-ripped." Tell me, does that make any sense? So a Jew should never wear that, and if a silly royal non-Jew wears that, it's such a lowering of their dignity. It's such a ridiculous thing to do, to make believe that they're not rich and not powerful by wearing torn pants, even though that's the style, they tell me. Anyway, a Jew has to dress dignified. And it doesn't have to be the most fashionable, doesn't have to be the most, but you have to look like a malka, like a queen, because that's what you are. A man also. Now, again, it depends on the environment. If you're in camp, if you're in summer camp, yeah, you could run around in any kind of comfortable clothes because you're on vacation. But when you're out in the street, you have to dress according to your status, which is a daughter of Hashem, a son of Hashem. So we all have Malchus. We all have Esther Malka, David HaMelech, Mordechai HaYehudi. We all have that. ובחינת המלכוס הזאת שיש בכל אחד היא ביסקליה וביסקסיה. Now, Rabbi Nachman, we're going to introduce two words here that are in Aramaic, and they're used a lot in Torah learning, and that is Iskalia and Iskasya. Iskalia means revealed, and Iskasya means mechuseh, covered. There are certain things in your life that are very open, that are clear and unquestionable. And there are certain things in a person's life that are concealed. So you have the revealed Malchus and the concealed Malchus, the revealed royalty and the concealed royalty. What does that mean? באסקליה היינו הממשלה שיש לכל אדם לפי בחינתו. שהוא מושל על אלו האנשים באסקליה כפי בחינת המלכות שלו כנ"ל. Your revealed kingship, your revealed royalty is who in your life do you rule over? Who in your life are you responsible for? Who in your life do you take care of? That's your family, your friends, your school, your job. That's revealed. Who in your life do you openly and consciously and publicly are in charge of? And everybody, again, in their own world. It doesn't have to be that you're actually, making supper for people. It could be that you're the matriarch of your family, and all the children and grandchildren and great-grandchildren come to you for advice, or just to, pay, to give you kavod, to give you respect, like the queen mother, right? The elderly. A person could be elderly and still be a queen. She's just not the one running around in chariots and horse races, but she's the one who's there in her inherentness. That's called Iskalia. It's revealed. Now you might be also the head of a company, the head of a shul, the head of a yeshiva. You might be a big rebbetzin, whatever you are. That's your revealed kingdom. But uviskasya, but you also have a concealed kingdom. You have a concealed kingdom that you rule over. Everybody has that part of their life that they rule over, that they're in charge of, that they have authority over, but it's hidden. It's not in your face. It's not revealed. Dehainu she'af shebiskalia nir elo she'ein shum memshala al elu hanashim. There are certain people who are very, very, now they call them influencers. There are people who are influencers in a direct way, and people who are influencers in an indirect way. The direct influencers, they might have 100,000 followers, they have all those, there's a whole different language that they speak, meaning these words, followers. Whoever heard of the word follower or likes? Whoever heard of the word likes? When you say you like something, they would correct your English. They would say, no, you like something. But likes right away means, you know what it means. Now, it means that you have a malchus, you have a kingship, a kingdom, and people acknowledge that you are their influencer. In the secular world, of course, it's involving a lot. It's usually involving money. Usually, you're in a situation, if you're influencing people, it's usually for money. That's the motivating factor in probably most things in the world. And power, but power is also connected to money. But there's a part of you that influences subtly, in a subtle way and not in a direct way. Now, on the simple level of pshat, it might be that let's just say that you're behind the scenes. Let's say you're not the CEO, and not the mom, and not the doctor, or the Rosh Hashiva, or the Rebbetzin, the Havdol, but let's say you're the guy in the background, who makes sure that everything is going right. You don't get a title. You don't feel that you're a malchus. You feel that you're just a worker. You're very devoted to whatever group it is, and you're influencing them in an indirect way because you're allowing everything to take place. That's number one. Rabbi Nachman says there's even something even deeper than that. Maybe you think that you have no influence over anyone. Im kol ze biskasya vehelem gadol hu moshel al elu hanashim ki nishmatan hem tachtav v'nichnaim tachtav. You might not know it, but you have neshamas, you have souls that are connected to you and that are attached to you and that you're actually in charge of. וגם זאת הבחינה של מלכות דיסקסיה, היא לכל אחד לפי בחינתו, בחינת שרי אלפים וכולי. You don't realize it. You think that you're a regular good Jewish woman, but guess what? You have neshamas, just like you have neshamas that are above you, tzaddikim, that we're attached to. We have neshamas that are below us, that they're connected to tzaddikim via and through us. So the very famous story of Rabbi Yaakov Meir Shechter that here Rabbi Yaakov Meir Shechter tells, explaining, I must have said the story over hundreds of times. I don't know hundreds, but tens and tens of times in all the years I'm teaching since I read the story. He talks about the Hillel and Shammai, right? Remember the convert, the potential convert that came to Shammai, and he said to him, "Teach me the whole Torah while I'm standing on one foot." And the Shammai chased him away with a beam of a carpenter's beam. And then he went to Hillel, and he said to Hillel, "Teach me the whole Torah while I'm standing on one foot." And Hillel said, "What's hateful to you, don't do to anyone else. Love your neighbor as yourself." That's the whole Torah. Now go and learn. So what's the whole story? We think, Hillel and Shammai. Hillel was the good guy. Shammai was the mean guy. That's ridiculous. But Rabbi Yaakov Meir Shechter explains like this. He says that Hillel and Shammai said the exact same answer, but just that Hillel said it in one way, and which was more understandable, and Shammai said it in a different way, which was actually deeper. And this is what Hillel said. Hillel said to him, "Why do you want to become a ger? Why do you want to convert? What came into your head that you want to convert and to become a Jew? Something, you have some kind of a yearning and a wanting to become closer to God. Correct? So where did that come from?" Hillel asked the non-Jew. Where did it come from? So I'm going to tell you where it came from. And that's what my colleague Shammai, my best friend Shammai, was trying to tell you. Hashem, because Shammai took a beam that construction men use to build houses. He took a beam. So the idea was that the beam is the way the world was built. How was the world built? Because the beam represents a builder's, a construction person's tool. So Hillel explained, the way that you received inspiration was because somebody else in your soul family, because we all belong to a soul family. We're all branches of a soul family. We have a major branch who's the head of our soul family, and that major branch head is connected to other major, bigger branches. Those are all the tzaddikim, etc. So he explained, and he said, some tzaddik in your soul family had a bad day spiritually, but he or she worked very, very hard on pulling themselves out of that bad situation. And when they pulled themselves out of that bad situation, what did they do? Well, when they fell down into a low situation, guess who they found there? They found your lowly soul in this very lowly place. But when they girded their loins and gathered together their strength and said, I'm not going to fail, I'm not going to fall, I'm not going to be sad, I'm not going to be hopeless, and they pulled themselves up and they put on a smile and they went to daven and they went to do the mitzvahs that they were supposed to do, and they physically changed themselves from sadness to happiness. When they did that, they pulled up all the other neshamas that were down there waiting for someone to help them. And Mr. Convert, that's you. You were all the way down there. You have a good Jewish soul, but you were all the way in a low place. For whatever the reason from past lives, I don't know why. I mean, Hillel didn't say I don't know why, but I'm just saying. And so somebody pulled you up. So just like, and what does it mean when you say you want to stand on one foot, and learn the Torah on one foot? It means you only want to have a good life. People have 2 feet. When you walk, you put one step forward and one step is back. The one step that's forward represents positivity. The step that's back is negativity. So you only want 1 foot. It means you only want one happiness. You only want to be positive in your life. You only want good days and inspiration. You think God's going to make a big deal with you because you're a convert and you're taking Judaism, so he should only give you goodness and easiness. It should be easy for you. It doesn't work like that. You're going to have to fall down, just like the person who fell down and picked you up. You're going to have to fall down and pick other people up. Because we're on levels. Until Mashiach comes, we're all on levels. This is a linear world in terms of souls. When Mashiach comes, we're going to be in a circular world of souls, meaning we're going to all be the same, equidistant from the center, which is Hashem. But right now we're linear. There are people who are bigger than us, people who are lower than us. And we are the Moshel. We are the ones who are taking care of the people who are lower than us on the level of soul, even if we don't know who they are. That's a very important thing to know. That if you just feel, let's say, I'm talking to myself really. Every teacher really talks to themselves. It's like a big secret that people, except for the really big tzaddikim, and they talk they talk in a different language, even though it sounds like they're talking the normal language, but they're talking in a hard place altogether. But I will tell you that if you're ever feeling like, not doing what you're supposed to be doing, you should know that there are a lot of people who are depending on you. There are a lot of people who are depending on your avodas Hashem to pick them up. That's called being a king or being a queen, having malchus be'iskasya, in a hidden way. So whenever you feel like, maybe I'll just neglect chas v'shalom, neglect this or neglect that, realize that there's a lot of souls you are supporting them. You're their higher level soul. Just like we know that we all need someone above us to guide us, and sometimes it's an obvious guidance, like a Rebbe, like a Rav, and sometimes it's we don't know how many neshamas are pulling us up. We don't know. We also are pulling other people up. That means we have an obligation to all those souls that we don't even know who they are, to stay with the program and to stay strong and to try to grow, because when we grow, we pull up everybody who's depending on us. That's called having Malchus Iskasya, a hidden royalty, a hidden kingship, a hidden queenship. V'yesh echad shebi iskalya ein lo shum memshala. There are people who look like to be such simple people. It doesn't look like they have anybody in life. It doesn't look like physically they're in charge of anyone, or that anyone listens to them, or that they're responsible for anyone, or that they're even connected to anyone. Va'af al pi chen bi'iskasya uve'elam gadol hu moshel al kol hador. You might have somebody who's a hidden tzaddik. Like they say, I think about the Kotzker Rebbe, he didn't leave his room for I don't know how many, for a very long time. And his Torah learning was keeping the whole generation alive, and nobody even knew who he was. You have many people like that. You have people who are hidden tzaddikim, and you have people who are revealed tzaddikim. You might be one of those people who you think is nobody. You think about yourself, you're nobody. And Hashem says, if you only knew how many neshamas you're holding up by your davening shachris, and you might say, but my shachris today was terrible. You don't know. You mamish don't know. And you have this one person who's holding up the whole world. That's what he says. Hu moshel al kol hador. He's in charge of the whole generation. V'afilu al kol tzadikei hador. There's one hidden person who's in charge of all the tzaddikim of the generation. Ki chol nishmoteim hem kulam tachat memshalto malchuto. Because this hidden tzaddik, he's really hidden. And he knows it, that he's hidden. And he knows that he's responsible for the whole generation. And he doesn't eat. Well, he eats, but he doesn't. He's little. And he sleeps little. And even when he's eating and sleeping, you know that Reb Tzadok HaKohen, he wrote a whole book called Yosisei Laila on his dreams that he had when he was sleeping, because he said, I have to go to sleep, but I don't want to stop learning or connection to you. So every night he would write peteks, he would write notes to Hashem about what he wants to dream about in Torah. And then he would have all these shiurim in his mind. He would dream about Torah. And then he woke up in the morning and he would remember, then he would write a whole shiur on it, a whole book on it. So you have people Rakshahu behelim gadol. You have the hidden tzaddik, the most hidden tzaddik, and that's why they say that in every generation there's an aspect of Mashiach, but he's hidden, and we think we know who he is because we think, oh, this tzaddik, it must be this tzaddik or that tzaddik. It could be that he's absolutely hidden. בבחינת בכל מקום מוקצר ומוגש לשמי, שאף שהם עובדים עבודת אלילים, על כל זה בהלם גדול הם כולם נכנעים אליו יתברך, ועובדים אותו יתברך. Rabbi Nachman says this about even people who are very far away from Hashem. Outwardly, it could be that inwardly, they're absolutely connected, and they're absolutely doing Hashem's ratzon and will. But it's very, very hidden. And now we're not talking about the tzaddik hador now. We're talking about the failures of the door, if you want to say it like that. People who are really unconnected. But those people, somehow Hashem is using them to do His will. It's a very big teaching, and there's no way that I think that I understand that. Maybe a little bit. But Hashem is using everyone to manifest everything. And that we're all being used by Hashem. In a revealed way, in a concealed way, or in a really concealed way. כמו כן, זאת הבחינה של מלכוס איסקסיה, שאף שבסקליה אין לו שום ממשלה, עם כל זה בהלם גדול הוא מולך עליהם והם כולם תחתיו ונכנעים עליו. That's Rabbi Nachman is repeating it. Actually, it's Rabbi Nassan who wrote these words. He just wrote the text, actually, based on a teaching of Rabbi Nachman. But he's saying that, again, don't underestimate your malchus. Don't underestimate your power. And don't underestimate yourself. If you are a shomer Torah mitzvahs, that means that for sure you have neshamas that are connected to you, that are not yet shomer Torah mitzvahs, that are not as strong as you are. And that your goodness and just your life is sustaining them and is subliminally influencing them. So let's just say that in your revealed malchus, you have your family. Let's just say, in your family you have a revealed malchus. You know, your husband, your kids, your grandchildren. And there's one of them that's just not going the way that you want them to go. It could be that on the level of soul, even though on the level of biology, they're yours, it could be that on the level of soul, they're not yours. Let's just say. Or, and we don't know. We just don't know these things. Because we don't know who's in whose soul family. Big tzaddikim do know. And therefore certain people, they're makarev because they know, oh, this is one of mine. This is one of mine. But let's just say that there's somebody in your family that you're not being mashpia, you're not influencing them spiritually. It could be, don't feel bad, it could be that they're in someone else's soul family. So how can you influence them indeed? What could you do? Rabbi Nachman gives all kinds of tricks. One of the tricks he says is every single day, think about their good point or their good points every day, and that's subconsciously strengthens their neshama. So it could be that you're not their soul guide, S-O-U-L guide, but you still could influence them in a mental way or in a subconscious way, but just focusing on their good points. By focusing on their good points, you're actually strengthening their good points. And you're making them a better person. That's one way that you could do it. The second way is just very simply recognizing that perhaps you're not their soul guide and just loving them and not trying to influence them in any way. Because you tried and you see it's not going. So maybe you're not their shliach. Maybe they're not in your soul family. So instead, just let go and love them. And really let go. And really love them. With no strings attached. And just recognize that. And pray to Hashem, daven to Hashem, that whoever is in charge of that soul, whichever tzaddik or tzaddikah is in charge of the soul of that person in your family that you feel that needs help, daven to Hashem that person should get on the ball, get get with the program, get working, because one of their people needs help. And also, of course, the more you help people in your soul group, every teacher says this: I'll teach your kid, you teach my kid. Right? Sometimes it's very hard when you have your own child in your class. It's very hard. I never had that really. One time I had it with my grandchildren, but not with my son. So it must be very hard to have a child in your class. You have to stay impartial. You have to stay, you can't help them with their homework, but you have to because you're the mom, but you're also the teacher. Like, how do you work that? How do you write yourself an absence note when your kid's sick, right? Like, how do you work that? I don't know. But understand that all of us are powerful and all of us are queens, and we have someone underneath us who's on the level of soul depending on us to be their Esther Amalka. I'm just going to read a little bit from the next section. So for those of you who have Likutei Moharan, we just did Nun Vav. We're doing Nun Vav 56, lesson 56, and we just did Aleph and Bay, and we just did Aleph. Now I'm going to do a little bit of Bays. V'tzarich, because for the Monday shir, I began the shir with the end of Bays. So I'm just going to now begin the beginning of it. V'tzarich kol echad livli lishtamesh im b'chinas hamalchus sheyesh lo lahanato u'letzorcho. You have to be very, very careful not to use your power for yourself. You know that I once learned a long time ago that a teacher really should not ask a student for a favor or to do anything for them, because you're not supposed to derive benefit from your students. And a parent can ask a child, because then you're helping the child to fulfill the mitzvah of kibbut av va'em, as long as you ask a child to do something that you know that they're capable of doing and that they will do. You never want to ask a child to do something that's putting them, chas v'shalom, in a place where they might say no, and then that gets them into big trouble with, in the Bezdin, Shalmala. But, you could say, could you open the window in the car? And if they do that, they just acquired another section of Olam Haba because they listen to you. So, but you're not supposed to use your Malchus for personal reasons, which is exactly the opposite of planet Earth. Planet Earth now, everyone is using their power and their position of power for self-indulgence and personal use. I remember when Arafat Yamach Shema, when he died and they started investigating, I think he had $6 billion with a B dollars in his personal bank account, some crazy amount like that. And his wife was living in Paris in some luxury hotel or some, I don't know. They had so much money, these people. And meanwhile, all the people underneath them were starving and walking around barefoot. I saw the other day, we're all seeing videos from Gaza. So I saw the other day, a bunch of Arabs being redirected because they're being redirected. They don't want to blow them up, so they're just telling the army's telling them, don't go to that building, don't go here, don't go there. So we had rain last week. So I saw a video of some old people being walking in the street or being evacuated, whatever word you want to use, and they were screaming at the Israeli soldiers, don't leave us, don't leave us. Hamas has been robbing us. Hamas is terrible. Don't leave us into their hands, because that's what happens. We know that even the spokesman of Hamas, we have it on record, that he said that all the money and all the humanitarian aid that comes into Gaza is supposed to be for Hamas. That Hamas believes that. They believe that all that aid is supposed to come for them, and the UN is supposed to take care of all the population, the general population in Gaza, because they're officially, the Hamas has declared that they are refugees. The people who live in Gaza who don't belong to Hamas, they're considered refugees, and UN has to take care of them, which of course the UN didn't take care of them, and now we're seeing that all the UNRWA things were used for weapons and for, it's just such a joke. It's such a joke that if it weren't so funny, it would be sad. If it weren't so sad, it would be funny. Anyway, Rabbi Nachman says you're not allowed to use your power for self-indulgence. You have to use your power to help the people underneath you. You're not allowed to use your position of authority to enslave people. What Paro did. Remember that Paro's in Mitzrayim, the Egyptians wanted Paro to free the Jews already a long time ago. And he kept saying, no, 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 because he used the Jews. He enslaved them for his own, for his own whatever his mind was on. שתהיה בחינת המלכוס בבחינת בן חורין, בבחינת אשריך, אשריך ארץ שמלכך בן חורין. It says in Koheles that the purpose of a king or anyone of authority is to maximize the talents and benefit the lives of anyone who's underneath him or underneath her. That's why it says how lucky is the land that their king is free. What does that mean? Shamalchus yet etzlech ben chorin livli lishtamesh bo lahanatcha. You have to be free of the need of taking advantage of people who are under your authority. Now, in a family, the family dynamics is very, it's not unusual for for people who are not broad-minded to live vicariously through their children. That's not unusual, but that's forbidden. If you're the head of a family, you have to benefit and give and upgrade and develop everyone in your family, and you're not allowed to take advantage of them or to subjugate them or to make them afraid or to have undue fear in the house. The kids shouldn't be afraid of you. You shouldn't be like the ogre in the house. You should be the one who's ruling the house in a loving and a compassionate and in a wise way, but not, the boss, the big scary boss that bosses everyone around, and as soon as that person comes home, everybody's tiptoeing around the house. So you have to use your malchus in a wise way, and in an effective for the people that you're raising way. Just another few sentences. And now Rabbi Nachman does a very big trick. So in our Monday shir, we're learning Rabbi Nachman for many, many years. So we know this concept already, but here maybe we didn't. I'm taking the liberty today of doing this teaching because it's Purim related. Rabbi Nachman teaches a very deep level of Torah, and there's pshat, right? Pardes, pshat, remez, drush, and sod, and he usually teaches on the sod level, where he'll take a simple pshat, a simple pasuk, and he'll go into the deepest possible meaning, understandable meaning for a human being. So I'm just going to do this one line. Mordechai. Mordechai has an interesting name, right? And we use the name Mordechai all the time. But what is it? We know that it comes. The Gemara says, "Bechinas mor deror." Mor deror is a spice in the incense, but it talks about shehamarut. Mar is bitter, and deror is free. So he says shehamarut hainu hamalchus, because marut could also mean like a moreh, a mar is also a moreh, a leader, a teacher. Hainu malchus. So this word mar could either be bitter, it could also signify authority. Hainu malchus yesh ba dror v'cherut, that the kingship and the authority should be ruling in such a way that they are free of needs, their own personal needs from their citizens or from the people underneath them. שלא להשתמש בה להנאתו לצורכו, כי אם להשם יסברך. But only כי יסד והיסה להשם המלוכה. Whatever the authority figure is doing, he or she is doing only to bring more godliness into the world, and not to be a boss, and not to be someone who is ruling over others for the sake of the ruler, as opposed to for the sake of the people that they're ruling over. You should teach the people who are in your family, or in your soul family, or in your friendship group, or in your company, or in your job, or in whatever it is that you're in charge of. Show them godliness. Teach them godliness. Doesn't have to be that you're teaching them religion, but show them honesty, integrity, and of course, if they're in your family, Torah and mitzvah. Everybody, everybody has to do this in a conscious way and in an unconscious way, or in a direct way or in an indirect way. This is what a person should be doing. A person should be conscious of the fact that if they have power, if they have authority, if they have people listening to them, if they have people dependent on them, then they should not take advantage of these people. Just the opposite. They should lift them, raise them, guide them, help them, encourage them, inspire them to come closer to God, to make their life worthwhile, and to be safe spiritually, etc., etc. So Mordechai means the perfect ruler, the Mar, the ruler, who's Deror, who's free of the need to take, and full of the need to give. Okay, that's part one of this, but Ezrat Hashem will continue next week. And let me just say hi. I don't know if I could say hi to you because I'm on a computer and I don't know how to do this. Wait, let me just see. Don't go off. Wait, let's see. I can view it this way. Let's see. I can view a gallery. Okay, now I can view it. Hi, me. Oh, there's me. Hi, Rebbe Simchana. Hi, Yehudis. Hi, Davida. And hi, Marcel. And hi, Chan Zisel. And hi, Ilana. And hi, Rebbe Rachel. Yay, everybody's on. Okay, now I'm going to try this to Liskor. It says close the, I don't think it's going to leave the meeting for everybody. Maybe it will. You never know. But okay, anyway, have a great day. Thank you for putting your face on, David. That's good to see you. Have a great...
I have a question. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yeah. I want to know how to access this share for someone else to listen to it.
Okay, that's a good question. So now, Be'ezrat Hashem, wait, let me just turn this off 1 second. 1 second.